I would like to, William, can you talk about the healings of the Zeta Race they are creating in our reality? How that was as an experience?
Well, I can talk about my own healing.
Yeah, I just think it'd be nice to get, it's not all, the Zetas are not like something out there. They're actually really interacting with our side and they're teaching us, but they're all showing us. Would you mind?
Well, I can. I once had what some people might consider a trivial problem, but it was important to me. I had a lesion on my nose that the doctors call actinic keratosis, and it's kind of a precancerous condition, and it could get a lot worse. And I couldn't get it to go away, or dermatologists couldn't heal it, and that kind of thing. So I asked Paul if the Zetas could take care of it. And one night I was here in Canada and they were in Australia. And I recorded the conversation. And they decided at one point during the session to do the healing. And it took about an hour and a half, a minute and a half to accomplish that. And then they told us what they did. And it's... The entire conversation is documented, but basically what they did, and this is only perhaps one method of healing that they have. I'm not saying it's the way they do all healings, but what they did at that time was they saw the problem I had as something that the body was accepting and not trying to deal with. And so what they did was they created the conditions that apply when the body is injured. And so when those conditions were created, my own consciousness, my local consciousness took over and did the healing as normal, as it normally does. This is the self-healing process, which I didn't have time to talk about. And so half an hour after the session, I took another picture, and there was already a change that I could see. And the next day or two, there was scar tissue forming, and a week later, it was completely healed. So this happened very quickly, and after quite a period of time when nothing was changing, or it was getting worse, if anything. So that was my experience with the healing with Zetas.
And Jeannie's ear? I love that story.
Yeah. That was pretty good. Jean had a case of what do you call it when the inner ear ceases to function, I forget the name of it. But anyway, she
couldn't hear.
She couldn't hear, and she couldn't hear all her life in that ear. So it was pretty much dead. Well, except for the lowest frequencies. She could hear some lower frequencies, but she couldn't hear. It was useless for understanding speech and so on. So Paul took her, this was in Australia, in your place. Paul took her into a room that he used for that purpose, and laid her on a couch, told her not to try to meditate or anything like that. In other words, just be still. And he reported later that there were a couple of spirits there who were working with a new technology, and there was also a number of people there with blue skins, so he considered them to be non-human. So there were probably non-human entities in the room with them. And they were mostly onlookers, though. So, but what they did to her was provide an etheric ear, and this ear was connected directly to her auditory system in her brain. It bypassed the ear mechanism itself. And when we got home, I used some software, do-it-yourself kind of software that I had created while I was working, And I used that to measure the state of her hearing in that side. And I didn't. I knew that the ear was outside the head, and I was able to determine that it was not stationary. So that sometimes she heard best when I spoke back here, and when up here, I tried to say the word the same way, and she would sort of indicate which was more easiest to hear for her to hear, either the front or the back. And I saw that the position of best hearing shifted from the front to the back. And so that's a nice confirmation to me anyway, that what he had reported was true, that the etheric ear was floating outside her head and it could move. And so then I took some do-it-yourself software and had her measure it allowed her to move pointers on a screen so that and adjust the volume of the sound and so on. And she was able to show me how well her hearing was for that particular day. And I found that for the ear that was supposedly dead in those frequency ranges, that she was now able to detect sound at say a 60 decibel level, whereas before the audiologist had said, well, she can't hear anything up to 110 or 120 dB, right? So there was a very significant improvement in her ability to hear, and it was noticeable to her when she and I were walking outside. There was nothing to reflect the sound. She was still able to hear me when I was walking on her opposite side, right? So she said that she could still tell that I was speaking there. So it gave her a small degree of improvement in her quality of life, but it really wasn't enough, right? And I'm still waiting for a request is in to the Zetas to try to up the gain on this ear so that she can have more use of it. So we'll see how that works out. But it was quite remarkable anyway that they were able to improve it any amount. You know, this is unusual.
I remember an ear story. I don't know if you were there. There was a deaf lady in a sitting. And so when the sitting started, the lady goes, "Can you speak up? I really can't hear you. I really can't hear you." And then the communicator goes, "Oh, we can fix that." And suddenly she goes, "Oh my God, I can hear really, really, really clear." And so she was very excited, and the whole sitting went. And then at the end of the sitting, she walked out and I said something to her. And she goes, "I can't hear you again." And so the next time when we ask, I go, "Oh my God, you fixed the hearing. And why can't you hear now?" And they go, "Well, she didn't ask for keeping it that way. We just did it so she could hear us." I thought it was hilarious. But there's so many really good stories. So many good stories. Yeah. But maybe Paul next week has to go into some exciting. Paul, do you want to say something to that, please?
G'day, everybody. So with Jeannie's etheric ear, the Zetas are looking into that. I mean, obviously, there's technical aspects to working with etheric technology. So that's the first thing. With the lady in the sitting, she had continually said that she didn't have new hearing aids. The Zetas knew that she did, and after about 5 minutes of her denying that she had new hearing aids, she actually remembered that she actually did have new hearing aids in, and so they were able to change the operation of those hearing aids as well.